Hi, all. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Wednesday to you. I pray that God's grace and His mercy are just rich upon your lives today, and that His presence is surrounding about you, and you're enjoying that, enjoying Him, and just pressing in, seeking Him. Hey, what I want to do is just kind of give you a basic rundown right now of the week ahead. And then I'll share a Devo with you, a short Devo. The week ahead, if you guys have become familiar with our website, calvaryfromhome.com, that's really where you're going to find all information about what's going on in the church. It's where you're going to connect with the church during this whole COVID-19 thing. So calvaryfromhome.com. These devos are there. Our Sunday mornings are there. Our prayer course that we're doing on Thursday, we're still meeting on that 7 o'clock. Go there, go to that website, and you'll see a link for that, and just follow it. You can join that prayer course. Life groups and signups for life groups are there. I just encourage you, make your way over there. Prayer. We're meeting for prayer almost every night at 8 o'clock. Go to that site. You'll find it there. I will encourage you a lot to sign up for life groups. This is going to be our full out best way to stay connected. I mean, we need places, right, of where we can just be praying for one another and keeping up on one another. This is the place to go do it in life groups. The nation, well, the world actually, is in crisis mode. One of the worst thing a person can do in crises is to isolate. I mean, yeah, social distancing, we got that. We got to do our part in that. But to isolate is to try to do crises alone. We're not wired for that. Okay, go join a life group. You'll hear me talk a lot about that. Okay, what I want to share with you today is something I've just been thinking about, an account of Eli the priest. He was a judge of Israel in the years after Israel had entered the promised land. So like after those years in there sometime, he was a priest and a judge. The account comes from First Samuel. I'm just going to kind of give you a sketch of it. But you know what? Before I even go there, I'll share with you a little bit about some of my rhythms, because some of this just comes out of my rhythms. I have rhythms of how it is that I seek God, and my blocks of time that I set apart for that. I'd like to have a morning rhythm, like a noon, and then an evening one, as much as possible. But my morning is like the solid one, because again, I'm a morning person. So I read the scriptures in the morning. Right now I read a psalm a day, and I'm also in Isaiah, so I'm reading a portion of Isaiah. And then these become my prayers as well. So I'll read a psalm, and then I'll go back and I'll pray that psalm through, and then I'll go back and I'll read that psalm and see if there's something in there that's sticking out, like a phrase or a verse that kind of sticks out to me. And then I'm going to pray that phrase back or verse back and ask God, like, what are you trying to communicate to me? Like, what is there? Is there something in my life that you're trying to speak into it or speak out of it? Another rhythm that I have is my noon break, right? So that's just that's a very smaller time of just trying to stop and to reorientate my life a little bit, because life gets crazy. And so I'll take this time and maybe read a passage, or maybe just kind of be still a little bit and just pray. And then in the evening, and sometimes this is in noontime as well, it just depends upon the day, I do a read through the Bible in a year program. And right now I'm using the Bible Project for that. If you're not familiar with the Bible Project, you go to calvaryfromhome.com, and you're going to find a button there for social distance learning. Hit that button and you'll see some great links in there on how to grow in our faith as we have like time. But the Bible Project's in there too. They have incredible videos, like animated videos of overviews of the Bible. Way helpful. And they also have read through the Bible programs as well. So, that's some of my rhythms. And sometimes like that evening rhythm is that read through the Bible. More often than not, it is. But I'm flexible with the evening and the lunchtime one. And they kind of can get moved around and stuff. So anyway, it's important to have rhythms to allow God to have areas of access to our lives. We're living in an anxious time. The way to combat the anxiousness of the culture is to learn to have places and make spaces of where we can be still before God and allow him to speak into our life, right? It's there that we have our strength renewed and our peace renewed. Okay, so Eli, that's what I really wanted to get to. So Eli, this is a guy, like, he knew his house wasn't in order. He knew that. He knew that he had some sons. In fact, in chapter 2 of verse 12, it says, now the sons of Eli were corrupt and they didn't know the Lord. He knew, his sons were messed up. They were out of line, and they did things that, well, you can read about them. I'm not going to read about them completely here, but let me just read a little bit about them. In chapter 2 of verse 27, it says, a man of God came to Eli and says, thus says the Lord, didn't I clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? Didn't I choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer on my altar burnt incense and to wear an ephod before me? And didn't I give him the house? Or did I not give to the house of your father all the offerings of the children of Israel by fire? Why do you kick at my sacrifices and my offerings, which I have commanded in my dwelling place, and honor your sons more than me, and make yourselves fat with the best of the offerings of Israel, my people? Sorry, it's going in and out of darkness there. But so, this man of God comes and he rebukes Eli because of his sons. And I'm not so much concerned about his sons. Eli was to be concerned about his sons, okay? But that's not like what I'm concerned about. Eli's the focus of these accounts, these early accounts. And so Eli sees something off in his life, and he does from an early time. I read that earlier about that. His sons were corrupt, and they were taking advantage of people, like crazy advantage of the people, when they were coming to worship God. And Eli does nothing about it. He knows there has to be a change because of just the corruption of the worship of the God's people. And he knows God's calling him to make this change with his son. But like, what I think the important idea for us in this whole thing is, Eli knows something needs to change in his life. But the way things are, however long they've been that way, which it seems like quite a while, have become rhythms in Eli's life, right? They're rhythms, and rhythms aren't easy to change. I mean, whether they're, especially I should say, bad ones, right? Hopefully we set up good ones, and then they're not easy to change either. But bad ones are hard to change. In fact, in order to change them, it disrupts life. And so Eli knows things need to change. But what it looks like, maybe he doesn't quite know that. But like, I know when something needs to change in me, like, it's already there. I might not want to acknowledge it. But then, because I try to give space to God, to hear from God in his word, and even from other people, his word's going to confirm it, or it's going to be confirmed by another person. And here God sent a man of God to rebuke him. And the account goes on, and Samuel is there in the temple of God, or in the tabernacle of God, and he hears from God. God speaks to him, and it's a beautiful account. And you could read about it, and I encourage you to read about it. But then after God speaks to him, Eli says to Samuel, he demands from Samuel to hear what God said. And in chapter 3, verse 17, it says this. He says, what has the Lord spoke to you? Please don't hide it from me. God do so to you and more also if you hide these things from me, all these things he said to you. And then Samuel relates these things to Eli, and it's basically a rebuke from God and how his sons are doomed and all of that kind of thing. But God doesn't send his word or the rebuke from his word to have no response. In other words, the whole reason that God gave this word to Samuel is so that Eli might do something, that he might set things in place to change things so that the results won't be what he's spoken. Like, God is quick to show mercy. But again, Eli does nothing about it. And it wouldn't be until many years later that this prophecy would come to pass. See, and the point is, we can all be like Eli. Like we know like something, right? Like God's been trying to speak to us on something, but like maybe we haven't been wanting to listen, or maybe we should be really seeking the Lord in this area, and we just kind of blow it off because life is busy and there's lots of things to do, and then we might read something in His Word, and it sort of hits us, but like if I or this thing in my life God's pointing out, and I should probably drop it, leave this thing behind, or allow Him to have access in this area of my life, or I should be open to Him. I mean, whatever it is, and maybe it's something that you read, or I read, or it's a message that was spoken, even like this one, right? And it hits. But will we, you, me, will we do anything about it? I mean, life happens and life can keep going on, and like God's not going to continually nag at us. I mean, He's not. The Holy Spirit's not going to do that stuff. And we could keep on living, and disruptions happen and all of that. Like we have this COVID-19 like lockdown. I mean, and it happens. And we could just be like, oh yeah, and our life starts getting filled with other things. But like, is that the way we want to end? I mean, always knowing that God has been calling me higher, but then like never doing anything about it. Always knowing that God's been asking me to be free of something, but always saying like tomorrow. Always knowing like God has been saying and speaking to me, seek my face, but our response has never been back like, your face, God, I will seek. I mean, you and I don't have to sit before Him. We don't, we don't have to be part of a life group and connect with one another on a meaningful level. I mean, we don't have to press into Him, right? And seek to grow in the knowledge of Him. We don't, we can grow in our Facebook connections, or Instagram, or the Reddit, or social knowledge, or whatever it is. We could grow in our Netflix shows, or in our gaming. The hours can grow on our gaming. We can grow in our portfolios. Well, maybe not so much right now, but or you could grow in your worry over them. But you're going to be growing in something. It's like, what are you growing in? Many people have time right now. How are you using it? Many have children right now. Right now. What are you doing with them to impress upon them the sweetness and the security of like walking in Jesus? Tomorrow to get things in place is never going to come. Ask Eli. I mean, he probably had 20 years of tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to do something. Tomorrow doesn't come like that. You make a decision now, because the decisions you're making now are setting a trajectory of like how it is that we're going to end. It doesn't have to be with regret, but it can be with a consistent, constant, progressive growing in the things that actually remain and things that actually matter. And so I just pray that you use your time that's been given, use the restrictions, not to restrict your affections for God, but to pursue Him. It's a rare season. It's a season to hear the voice of God and make straight His paths. Hey, God bless you guys. Thanks for listening.